Oh man, we have a starter pack here. That's a first. That guy who plays a girl in D&D starter pack is a lesbian. Gets mad when the DM won't have any female characters show romantic interest. I roll to seduce. Makes everyone uncomfortable while flirting with female NPCs or players. Gets overly descriptive when taking off armor during a long rest. Yeah, all of that. We've seen all of that before. Maybe not the last one, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time. Everything here is appropriately really gross for that guy, but that first one sounds kind of familiar. My own primary character would probably be Kalia Solfera, a lesbian woman. Oh god. No. How did I get here? Have I become that guy, fueled only by my horniness and desire for women? Wait. I'm asexual. What am I even worried about? What am I doing? I, 26 female, am starting to be a dungeon master myself in real life for a group of women, co-workers and old high school friends. We're called the Princess Tea Party of D&D. I'm a DM currently on Roll20 for a long time now for an online campaign with my World of Warcraft classic friends. Sorry, I've got to do this. WoW token!
It's riot time! Yeah!
Okay, now that that's done. Now, I could have just ordered our dice from Amazon or something and been done with it, avoiding the coming headache, but because I like to shop and support locally, I went to the local game store near me. I live in a medium-sized conservative town that only has one game store. I went there previously and had an okay experience, so I figured I would go there again to see what kind of dice they had in stock. I was also thinking about buying up any minis they had, since I would be starting from nothing. I ended up driving downtown and went into the store, where they seemed to have some people playing Magic the Gathering at their tables at the time. I got some looks as I came in, but I went right up to the counter. There was one patron, 30-ish male I would guess, who smiled and said hi as I walked up next to him at the counter. We'll call him Patron from here. Patron had a genuinely nice smile and vibe to him, so I smiled and nodded back to him to be polite. The counter workers / supervisors are Abed, male, Troy, male, Jeff, male, and Annie, female. All were talking with backs turned to the counter. It seemed very casual, but I wasn't in any rush, so I just was standing there waiting for my turn, not wanting to interrupt them. Patron cleared his throat and gave me a look. I kind of laughed and said I was trying not to interrupt since I was in no hurry. He asked them why they didn't acknowledge me when I came up. Abed stopped talking and his face just drops from the soft / casual expression he had while conversing and asks, "What, you lost?" I think my face said it all in that moment because Patron looked absolutely horrified. When I noticed Patron, I collected myself, smiled, and awkwardly looked to each of them and said, no, I'm not lost. I was coming to see your dice since I bought some here at Christmas time." Troy, the second male, just turns around and says, "We don't have any dice." I looked down at the case. There were multiple lone D20s directly in front of me in the case on the top shelf. I ask about them, and Abed says, "Yeah, that's right. We don't have any dice. That one guy came in and bought all of them, didn't he?" Troy responded, "Yep, that guy bought every single one," and they both turned around again. I looked at Patron and asked, "Those are dice, right?" In a joking manner, he confirmed they were indeed D20s, and there were some assorted dice in plastic tubes marked at $12 a set right below them. I looked to Annie, the woman, since she had been quiet but was also part of their conversation. I said, "Excuse me, can I see those dice below? I need a few sets for..." She didn't even turn around. She said, "Nope, we don't have any here." I was so confused at this behavior, but I'm not dense and could see that there was something happening here. I moved on. I then asked the group of employees another question. Sorry to bother you, but what about your minis? Do you have sets in store?" I was about to ask for the Platinum Edition of Spelljammer, which is about $500, so I figured I could maybe at least grab their attention with money. Abed told Jeff, the third male, to go to the back and grab me the two different sets they had, but neither were the Spelljammer ones I was looking for, so I didn't care for them. But what I did have was Jeff's attention for the moment. I asked if the dice were just not for sale. He said, "Oh, those?" looking down to where I was pointing, and Abed gave him a look. In my head, I'm just thinking, is this seriously happening? I wasn't going to be that person and make a big deal out of it, but I was definitely annoyed. With one last shot at grasping for straws, I asked if they could order specific things into the store for me. Jeff said they don't do special orders. Okay, got it. I looked at Patron and smiled, saying, I hope you have a great day. Thanks for being nice to me, before I turned to leave. Then it happened. Annie just said one word. Gross. I was livid, but because I'm a girl, I don't want to be seen as being emotional or irrational if I lashed out. I'm hyper aware of this kind of thing, so I try to measure my reactions in situations like this. I turned back around and said, Excuse me, did you say something to me? Looking directly at her. She had her phone up like she had started to record me as I walked away. Again, my only emotion was confusion. I said, What's gross is your attitude, all of you. I hope today was just a bad day for you and that tomorrow will be better. I just wanted to support locally. And thanks for reminding me why I shouldn't. I started to walk out of the shop. Patron apparently followed behind me. I had heard an exchange behind me that was something like, I guess I'm not going to support them either anymore, from Patron. And one of the males behind the counter said, Man, don't be like that. I had my back turned, so I don't know which of them it was. Patron looked pretty mad when I saw him outside the shop for the brief moments as we were both headed back to our vehicles. I drove home wondering what the actual heck I just experienced. I ended up ordering their dice from Etsy. They were just packs of mystery dice, but they were from a somewhat local seller, so I didn't feel so bad about not supporting local after all. And also note, don't hate me for wanting the Spelljammer set. There was an inside joke about going to space with my coworkers, so I was stopping at nothing to double down on it. The Princess Tea Party D&D group is going to wild space. I mean, I don't have anything against Spelljammer. Everyone knows that it's Horde of the Dragon Queen we're always beefing with here. Anyway, yeah, this sucks. Look, I understand working retail is so annoying sometimes, but at the same time, there are some retail employees that are doing themselves absolutely no favors. And actually, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what this is. I've seen it before IRL. Unfortunately, some young people working in retail positions really want to go viral on TikTok with their own crazy Karen video, and so they try and force it, and I think that's what they were trying to do to you. Now, obviously, outside looking in perspective, you seem to have handled it pretty well. I would have been much more frustrated because, yeah, this is the exact kind of childish crap people pull to get their 2 seconds of fame. Now, before we get to the next story, I need to say, it's possible that these people did post this somewhere out there, and if you can find it and leave the link in the pinned comment down below, I will give you $50. I'm not kidding. I am putting a bounty out there. Find the vid, leave the link, get the prize. Hey everyone, so a bit of backstory. I decided to run Delta Green to a few fellers online. For those who are not in the know, Delta Green is sort of a spin-off from the Call of Cthulhu modern game, in which your player characters work for a secret government agency and clandestine organization that are trying to stop eldritch horrors. So think Men in Black without the super tech. That meets X-Files, meets SCP, meets True Detective Season 1. Okay, this sounds awesome. I need to play this. I decided to run them on a scenario, last things last, in which they have to go to the home of a former operative and find and destroy evidence that would link him to the organization Delta Green. During the game, we had 2 major NPCs who would work as handlers. An old man with no time for BS attitude, we'll call him Sam, and a younger cowboy type named Texas. One of the player characters decided to antagonize Texas from the beginning, specifically since he found it that Texas was profiling him to see if he would be a potential good recruit. Now, bear in mind, Delta Green is a rather serious tabletop role-playing game, and I don't mind humor here and there, specifically since the stuff that agents end up witnessing will shatter their psyche. Upon there, a joke here, it's all good. During the mission, the guys were causing a bit of a ruckus on the dead man's apartment, and a neighbor started to knock on the door, wondering if there was anyone inside and threatening to call the police. Mind you, she had some light intel on the situation. The guys have badges, and I was expecting them to get creative on how they would handle this. Thing is, one of the players, we'll call him Robert, decided to strip almost naked, except for his underwear, open the door, and explain to this old woman that the dead guy was part of a colony with him and some other guys, implying, intimate keg parties. The woman was horrified, and I let her say the piece of intel she knew, but the players were all saying to this one Robert dude, "What the heck, man?" As Robert tries to tell her more unsavory details, the woman called the cops, saying there was a naked man doing a break and entry of the home of her deceased neighbor. Later, as the operation continues, the same player decides to attempt to write on his shirt, "Screw Texas," in order to mess with the handler. The rest of the gang tell him to knock it off, specifically since they are afraid of what Delta Green may do if they break their cover, since they were threatened with ending with either illicit material on their computer, illegal drugs on their place of living, or chats and mails that could end up connecting them to terrorist groups if they reveal or attempt to reveal any information about Delta Green to the public. As the mission is wrapping up, they go meet Sam and debrief. This is where Robert declares, "I want to tell Sam that the organization should move part of the black budget into the..." I say that while trying to pinch his nipple to see what reaction I get. Everyone was very uncomfortable, and I decided to end the game for everyone's mental sake. I spoke with some of the players who are afraid this attempt to be funny in the future might derail the game. I spoke with the guy, and he said he wanted to riff a bit, but then decided to leave amicably from the group. It's not as bad as it could have been, but I feel very uncomfortable as the handler, which is the game master in this game. I don't blame you for feeling uncomfortable. It's strange that seemingly mature games often mix with immature and creepy humor, because these guys think that adult humor just means doing whatever thing will make everyone the most uncomfortable. And while that might work for some audience somewhere, but this isn't an audience, this is your gaming group. And if they're uncomfortable, you need to stop. The point is to have fun, and it's hard to have fun when you feel icky. Guys like this just frequently don't care, and that's why you need to be okay with having mid-campaign conversations about people's behavior. Luckily, it ended well here, with the guy agreeing to leave amicably. Sometimes, though, you might need to be a little bit more forceful about it, unfortunately. Before we get into the story properly, let's talk about the lore. Not the worst horror story ever, and I can be quite blunt, so just posting here to see if people thought I was fair. This is a guy that I had already been playing with for 6 sessions. Things were going okay, but then he wanted to join another campaign I was running midway using the exact same character. Okay, fine. This required me to copy over a sheet, which previously I hadn't looked at deeply. As I was doing this, I noticed the armor class, 18, seemed a bit high for a level 3 barbarian. That's when things started unraveling. In my interactions with him over Discord, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's possible he just misunderstood the rules. Due to that and the fact that he sidestepped half my questions though, it may not be clear exactly how many violations were on the sheet. So here's the list. Took a level 1 feat, tough, despite no table rule or discussion, had higher ability scores than point buy allowed, everyone was using point buy, he never indicated or asked to roll instead. Even with higher stats and tough, his hit points were still too high, 48 when it should have been 32 or 38 with tough, had half plate and a shield despite barbarian background not providing them, was using a 2-handed great axe with the shield, had extra skills, had 2 background features, and had features from 2 different subclasses. Okay, now the messages. DM here, how is it that your character has 48 hit points at level 3? Seems like he should have 32 if my math is right. 12 plus 2 plus 7 plus 2 plus 7 plus 2 equals 32? Well, I like the idea of the orcs and the wide dragon. Maybe they have piqued the interest of my character's employer. Maybe my character's employer would like to hire them for something or something else. Oh, and is half plate too much for my level 4 character? Well, it's not a matter of it being too much or too little, really. Where did it come from? Like, what feature grants it? Well, I started with the armor, and my character got it from his father. That's not really how it works. You can't just add items you want. You are granted items from your starting equipment or background. You can buy them in-game, but for reference, half plate is 750 gold pieces, so it's very expensive. You can see prices in the player's handbook. It seems like Red Redacted's hit points are also way too high in the game. Did you take the tough feats and ability score increase at the same level? Also, how can your Red Redacted character have the tough feat in Wild Beyond the Witchlight before level 4? Yes, I took the tough feat. What is ability score increase? Also, did we not get a feat at the start of Wild Beyond the Witchlight? Also, hey, by the way, it's not much, but it seems like the ability scores don't quite up on the point side either for Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Seems like you're 2 over, too. Also, now I'm checking, it seems like you have more skill proficiencies than is allowed. By my count, you can get Athletics from Goliath, Intimidation and Animal Handling from Barbarian, then Insight and Religion from Acolyte, so I'm not sure where you get the Stealth from. And no, you just get the starting equipment, but you can buy these items you want if you get enough gold in the adventure, which is 750. Okay, so he's naked, but I think his boss would prefer him to be clothed. Actually, I also don't think you start with a shield either from Barbarian. And you can't use a shield with a two-handed great axe anyway. Oh, I apologize if I stepped on your toes in any way. Also, I thought Red Redacted was Path of the Totem Warrior, but here it says Berserker. Which one did you decide on your end? Oh, Totem Warrior, Bear. Okay, I've recreated your character, Red Redacted. Rules legal in Dragon of Icespire Peak for level 4, and for Wild Beyond the Witchlight at level 3 in D&D Beyond. These will have the correct stats, assuming Red Redacted chooses Totem Bear at level 3, and Tough at level 4. Okay, thanks. Is it better now? I would highly recommend using D&D Beyond for your sheets. It's much easier to keep track of character creation rules as written. It does your math for you, and you can check the working of how stats and features are calculated so there's less confusion. Otherwise, I'd brush up on character creation rules in general. As a general rule of thumb, please don't add things to your character sheet without prior discussion / rules as written features. It's against the rules. Also, no, it's not quite better. The hit points are still too high, and you still have half plate. Well, may I please get an armor class over 13? I think maybe there's a fundamental misunderstanding about how the game works here. There are specific rules about how characters are built. It's up to you to stick to the rules. Classes are balanced around having certain strengths and weaknesses. It isn't fair on other players if I arbitrarily break the rules for the sake of one player. If you want higher armor class at the start, then it's up to you to build a character with a higher AC within the rules. Barbarians get unarmored defense, which means they add dex and con to their armor class, for example. But you chose to prioritize strength over dexterity. That's your choice. It wouldn't be fair to just take away the consequences of that. You want to retcon your stats to add more to your AC. You can do that, but at the cost of other stats, of course. Totem Barbarian is already one of the most powerful specs for Barbarian. There is really no need to make it any stronger. Or look at it another way. Saving up the requisite 750 gold pieces to buy better armor is a perfectly fitting motivation for a character. If I break the rules and just add half plate in at the start, I'm just cheating you out of an interesting narrative arc, right? No, because there are more expensive things I would like to get on a higher level. Right, well, exactly. You have a choice about what you want to spend your money on. If you decide you would rather save your money for something other than armor, that's a valid choice for your character. That comes with consequences, having lower armor class. If you get the armor for free, then it's not a meaningful choice anymore. Yeah, well, I haven't got any gold, and I don't think I will either. So what should I save up from? I'm sorry, but this isn't a debate. You cannot add items you want outside of the starting equipment. It is against the rules. Half plate is an expensive item for a reason, and I think you understand that because of how much it would boost your AC. It's your choice if you want to save for it or not. It's not your choice to decide that you can have it for free. It's not up to me to tell you if or how you will get enough gold to buy half plate. Those are questions that you will discover by playing the game and pursuing quests or work that grants gold in character. Your success or failure is determined by your actions in the game. The Dragon of Icespire Peak party have already done several quests that you can see in the log for gold rewards. They can choose to spend or save, just as you can choose that. As an aside, there's no need to try and make OP characters. You can't win at D&D. It is collaborative. The campaigns are based around a set of rules and expectations for character building and leveling. If I bend the rules to allow OP characters, one of two things are going to happen. One, the campaign becomes too easy, or two, I just increase the difficulty of the campaign anyway to make up for it, and you end up in the same position as if you haven't broken the rules. It is rather pointless. If you really don't want to have low AC, there's a number of options available. 1, switch around some stats and equipment. 2, pick a different class. 3, play a different higher level campaign. Or 4, play a different game. Let me know which option you choose. If you no longer wish to play in Wild Beyond the Witchlight or Dragon of Icespire Peak with Red Redacted your character in his current, rules legal form, I understand, and I can remove you from the campaigns. Yes, it might be for the best to have a good game. When scale mail can destroy the game, I think it's a bit too fragile for me. Understandable. Good luck finding a better fit. Man, I don't know why, but this is so particularly irritating. I think it's the emojis. Those smiling faces just brim of sarcasm. But look, in any case, I have to say, the DM handled this very, very well. I mean, if you take anything from this post, take the DM's language that they used here. Obviously, the player in this example is very stubborn and very stupid, but the DM's way of explaining stuff like player power, armor class, the importance of game balance, etc., it's very, very good, very diplomatic language that a lot of new players will understand. The DM did a great job at explaining these concepts. Obviously, you should probably not take as aggressive as a tone as I did, but the reason I took that tone is because, man, players like this irritate me. For good reason, too. This guy just wants so badly to win at D&D, to be better than the other players, and to get stuff for free with no challenge. I mean, seriously, what's the point of playing if you're just gonna cheat? And come on, if you're caught, the least you could do is not lie to the DM about it right to their online face. Unbelievable. So I've been running games for 10 years and have been a moderator of servers and ran 2 living communities. I've seen a lot. I'll do a write-up later, maybe. But here's a story from 15-ish years ago from an IRL game. It lasts over 2 years. Cast, more later, but these are the starters. Myself, a lot less confident than I am now. A guy named Cringe, started off nice, but perpetually awkward. A guy named X, angry power player. A guy named Clueless, nice guy, but he was oblivious. For openness and context before the story, I went on 2 to 3 dates with Cringe. I think we kissed once. Didn't fit. He turned it off because he wasn't comfortable being with someone who had dated more than him. No hard feelings, we remained friends. So my friend Clueless and I were talking to a guy, X, a friend of a friend after a party, and he mentioned he ran games. We both love tabletop role-playing games, and we asked to join. He asked us to get together a group for Shadowrun. I invited Cringe, who really wanted to try games too. We spin up characters, all is good, games are going well. It's a bit grim rough, but hey, it's Shadowrun, mostly fighting a low-level gang / territory war. So, I get a crush on X. Yeah, sue me. We vibe for a while during sessions, and we hang out after. So after a while, after we completed taking out a small gang and are about to start a new thing, in order to hang out with him more, I decide to make a new character. During which, we end up dating. He also offers to send off my first character. At this time, once Cringe found out that X and I dated, he told me he was still into me. I politely told him it wasn't happening, and I figured that was that. First X red flag, though, he spends an hour describing in detail how that first character I made offed herself in an accident by being so stupid and dumb against everything that happened before. He actively encouraged everyone to laugh at her and loot her body, but, I mean, like I said, it was Shadowrun. Also, X started showing some behavior on the home front, but he had some real life things happen, which I excused things with. It also made him unable to run the game anymore. Okay, so Clueless offered to run D&D. I think it was 3rd edition, maybe 3.5, whatever. We played in 2010-ish. We all made characters at Cringe's house. This was rare and important because Cringe offered to show me the smoking area away from everyone else. And there, he made a pass. I told him no, again, and brushed it off. X decided to make an insane build cut together from old forum guides and D&D magazine options. Edgy min-maxed a ranger, who was only there to do damage. Clueless did not want to say no to either of these, so he let these monstrosities pass for table happiness. This did not satiate X. X is hyper-combative at the table all of a sudden, always telling other people what they did wrong, always trying to push past anything that wasn't combat. It was a dungeon crawl. But still, there were things like traps and investigation to do. He's making Clueless's life hell. He fights him on every ruling, checking source books like it's his mission from God. And then there's Cringe. Cringe decides that he has a way to get me back. He decides to start taking pictures of... Can some ALOs please explain to me how any of this is flirting? I try to ignore this. We try to push through, though. X becomes more and more awful at home, and it starts showing at the table. Fast forward a few months, and it's horrible. Game full on off the rails. We spent at least half the sessions with X fighting Clueless just on every single thing. When he's not doing that, he is berating other players, specifically me. My cleric is not built right. I'm the wrong domain. I'm not healing enough, specifically healing him. I need to wade into combat with him more and heal him. Even though we had a tanky paladin, so his ranger did not need me on the front lines. I mean, full on yelling at me at the table in front of my friends. Cringe is just sending me 5 to 10 explicit and emotional messages a session that I ignore, and now I'm spending way too much game time going out to smoke and try to calm down. Clueless had an idea. He suggested we bring in a new player. New player, we'll call him Chill. Chill was a friend of Clueless and I. He was a cool dude. He rolls up a nice support caster. Mechanically, it helps a lot, as the weight of helping the team isn't all on me anymore, but he kind of quickly realizes that the issue here is more social than gameplay. He first talks to Cringe alone, since they had never met before. I have no idea what happened, but Cringe never came back or messaged me again. You're the real MVP, Chill. With one down, he hoped things would be better. They weren't. At this point, I finally said what Cringe had been doing, and X lost it. Complete rage at the table and at home. Things got very, very bad. Playing was just out of the question, as every session was just him berating me or making fun of Cringe for hours. It made everyone else uncomfortable and miserable too. So Chill brought out the big guns and invited another dude. We will call this new guy Dad. He's not my real dad, but he's a game dad to us all. You know the type. Been playing since the start, but isn't gatekeepy or weird. Just a nice guy who wants to share the hobby. He and I knew each other for some years, and he really did look out for me. He says he won't play, but will talk to us. Well, he pulls me aside first, and after hearing the basics of just the table, he tells me I talk about D&D like it's an abusive husband. He's genuinely worried. So I end up spilling the stuff at home and what's been happening, and he tells Clueless to shut down the game. This is not okay, etc. I believe Clueless and Chill start up some other game with some other friends. Dad ends up helping me to leave the relationship later on, which is its whole other thing. But in the long run, I honestly don't think any of this was about me. I think somehow I ended up the token and pawn in some territorial contest of sorts. One nice thing is, now I'm really good at spotting and shutting down problem behavior. It's why I end up moderating and running so many things, so thanks, guys. Seeing the positives, that is awesome. This is the exact definition of being trapped in a game through awkward, out-of-game stuff. It doesn't just happen with TTRPGs, this could happen with any sort of social activity. You're dating somebody in the group, and because you're afraid to leave the person, you're also afraid to leave anything they're involved with. It's the definition of being stuck in a toxic relationship. And yeah, that sucks. I totally feel the solution of just having other people there. Just having other people around when I'm in an awkward situation can be just so helpful in grounding my mentality. Though, of course, that's a temporary solution. The best way to get out of these situations is to get out, which luckily this person had some help with, which, you know what? It's never a bad thing to get some of that. Guess it goes to show that treating D&D like a pickup artist competition is probably not a great idea. And with that, we are going to end on today's episode of RPG Horror Stories. If you guys enjoyed, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of our content, then you can check out our Tabletop Tavern Tips series, where we cover advice for TTRPGs for both players and Dungeon Masters, old and new. And while you're there in the cards, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content right as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment. Pickup artists to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Oh, hey, by the way, if you have your own horror stories, you can send them to us in the description where there's an email. Send them that way so that you can get a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But even if you don't have any stories, unless you like, comment, subscribe, I will see you all next time. Farewell.